have Spring from Martial Spirit. She's a Muay Thai fighter, trainer,
Hello.
and gym owner at a Martial Spirit.
Hey guys.
Hey. So let me go through this particular photo. I will never forget this day. It was the hottest day of 2019. This was at the first outdoor rebellion events at the
Yes.
Timber Yard in Port Melbourne. It was super, super hot. I remember wearing shorts and singlets for the entire day and night. And I haven't worn that since my first show. Because it was a new venue, there was a different vibe to it. And the backstage, it had a very cool vibe to it too. People walking by could see the fighters getting ready. You could easily just walk from backstage and see everyone fighting from the other room. I remember this was a long day too. Martial Spirit had many fighters on that morning. I don't think you were there that morning. I think you were just resting because you were fighting later that evening. Yeah, what are some of your thoughts at this particular fight, and also what goes through your mind backstage?
So this particular fight was mentally really challenging for me. I had a huge break between this fight and the one before. I can't remember who the one before was actually, but there was a big break in my fighting career. And yeah, Roots is really hot. Like I was there when that guy burned his foot, that poor guy, and when everything had to move indoors. That was bad. Yeah. But yeah, so I think on this day I was there because Quang was fighting, Richard was fighting, Cece was fighting, and then there was me.
You remember everyone.
That night. Yeah, so that was really good. It was a good day of fights, like a couple of disappointments in the results during the morning, but it was really good vibes at Timber Yard. So yeah, that was cool. And I remember being really nervous in the back room and trying to like calm myself down. And this particular stretch is actually a meditation that I learned during that period when I had a break. And this is one of the stretches that they taught us how to do at the start of the meditation. We're kind of like cradling your leg and like trying to loosen up. And as you can see, I'm really not that flexible. I'm full struggling here.
Was there a particular style of meditation that you were doing?
Not really. Yeah, I just kind of picked up some things along the way, just trying to help my kind of like my mental state of mind to kind of get back into fighting and feeling okay about fighting again.
Yep.
So yeah, like I was really happy to be here, and I kind of like, there's so many feelings that, you know, I'm actually here, I'm gonna fight again, super excited, but also like I hope this goes well. Like I just hope this goes well, and I hope I don't fumble when I'm in there, and I hope I don't freeze.
Yeah,
because it's like a bit of a break. So yeah, I think I was listening to some kind of like chanting at this point, trying to really calm down. Yeah, and I usually don't listen to any kind of like chanting or that kind of stuff when I'm in the back room. But for this particular fight, I think I was doing that, and that's probably why I was doing the stretches as well.
I wouldn't have guessed that you were listening to chanting.
Yeah, a lot of people wonder what I listen to, because I'm not a huge music person, and I kind of like float from listening to like K-pop and then like some random stuff on fight day.
Yeah.
This particular fight, I remember being really nervous, and I just watched everyone fight, and everyone was like really excited because the whole team was fighting, and I was like, okay, I can do this, you know, just got to calm down. It's going to be fine. Like,
yeah,
you're going to have time. And, you know, you're going to be rusty, but it's going to be okay. Like, you know, just have some fun.
On the same night, you were fighting Soraya, an up-and-coming fighter. And I felt you two were very evenly matched, similar build, similar style too. What was it like sharing the ring with someone like her?
It was really good. It was super good experience. And like I said, like for me, just getting back in the ring, and, you know, we have all that, like all the fears and all that, I guess that fog in your mind, kind of clouding you. It's good to go in there and like prove it to yourself that you can do it.
Yep.
And that you're going to be fine. Like, it's as strange as it sounds. Like I was there and I was like, I remember when the ref was like, are you guys ready? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm ready. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he's like, okay, like fight. And I was like walking towards her, and I could feel the canvas, and I'm like, I can't feel my legs. I'm so nervous. And I don't even know what the first strike was. But after the first strike, I was like, okay. I was like, I remember this now. I got this. But yeah, it felt really strange getting back in there again. And I had a couple of friends that are not in the Muay Thai scene come and watch my fight as well that night. So yeah, like overall, it was a really good experience. And like she was really fun to fight, super technical. And yeah, like just so happy to be able to get back in there. I can't remember much of it.
It was a fun fight. You've had a range of fights now, from your beginning 3 by 2 minute rounds, 5 by 2 minute rounds, 3 by 3 minute round sprints, and also your title fights. Is there a particular style of fight that you like the most?
Like fighting?
Yep.
Not really. I think like when I first started, especially before going pro, I was really kind of leaning towards like a lot of punches and leg kicks and not really using my body kicks or head kicks at all. And then once I started doing like the pro fights, I was really trying to get those out a little bit more. Like the body kicks, the head kicks, and then like trying to get more into the knees and more into the clinch. But I think slowly it's developed in time where I kind of prefer using my legs now because it's been drilled in my head so many times by crew Chris that you have to kick.
Yep.
So so even though I like punching and like leg kicks, the idea of it, of like, you know, having the aggressive style.
Yep.
Funnily enough, when I fight, it kind of comes out the more like technical or more ephemeral style.
Well, obviously in this photo, it shows you you're not afraid to trade punches.
Hey, I'm punching. This would be so mad.
There's proof of that. Now, it's quite cool following your fighting career. Even though it's quite short, you rose through the ranks quite quickly. And that just could be because there was a small female pool, but you know, you haven't turned down many fights. And it's really cool to see you going from your first fight all the way to headlining shows.
Yeah, I can't believe how quickly time is. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love this photo.
Could this have been your first fight? One of your
That
first
is
fights?
my first fight.
I knew of you before
God.
this as well, seeing you at the gym, doing traditional martial arts, seeing you at the inner clubs, doing seminars. What was it like as a trainer as well, stepping in, fighting pro Muay Thai as well, having all that support behind you? What was that whole experience like?
The martial arts that I was involved in and still involved in now is Aikido. So it's pretty much the opposite to Muay Thai,
Yeah.
and especially the opposite to Muay Thai fighting. So I think people were mostly confused when I first started competing in Muay Thai, like confused. The Aikido guys. Like the Aikido guys are like, I don't think that's very like Aikido like, you know, like to go in there and compete and like to be so aggressive against someone else. So yeah, I think mostly the reactions were confusion, and also they were really worried that I was going to get hurt or, you know, something bad was going to happen. And they're kind of wondering like, this is going to be like a little phase that you go through and you're going to get over it after your first fight and then like just relax, or, you know, is she actually serious in doing this? So yeah, I think like for me personally, I know no one's ever put the pressure on me, but I felt a lot of pressure competing or just kind of being out there. And just never wanting to disappoint like the coaches and people that I knew. But like that kind of pressure, like no one's ever put that pressure on me. I just kind of created it by myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the transition at the start, I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't sure how people were going to take it. Like a lot of the Aikido guys were not that pleased. And I remember like after the first fight, I came back up like a little bit of like bruises, nothing serious, but they weren't that happy about it. Especially like the more kind of squared thinking.
Are they more open to it now?
Yeah, like there were some of them that were like, oh, go for it. Like that sounds fun. Like, you know, as long as you're happy. But now everyone's just kind of seeing me like both. Like, you know, I can do both, and there's an appreciation for both arts as well. It really depends like what you're looking for and what principles you're training. And like personally for me, like this was a really important journey. But yeah, like this is crazy. I think this is the only smile that I smiled the whole entire night before the fight.
Besides weigh-ins,
you managed to capture it.
It's funny. You've reached a pretty high level in professional Muay Thai fighting, yet you're still training in traditional martial arts. And I was very supportive of the idea of someone like you jumping from a traditional martial arts background into professional fighting. I was thinking, how was that going to translate? Because, you know, in traditional martial arts, it's just strict forms. A lot of things are set with the katas and all that. And then professional fighting, even just the art of fighting, anything can happen. So you have to be adaptable. And I felt you just was very adaptive and you performed great. How did you think you performed compared to how you had pictured it in your head?
I had no idea what fighting like would feel like. Like I like in my head, I was just worried about like two things. Like one, I hope that my shins were not going to break like in the first kick. Like especially in this fight, I was like, I don't know what shins, like, you know, I don't know how they're going to go. Like I hope that they don't crack, you know. And then secondly, I just didn't want to get like knocked out in my first fight as well. So I didn't have that much expectations of how I would do because I think I was so fresh. Like even though I was really like you said, like traditional martial art is so different to fighting. Like the expression of your, everything is different. Like the emotions, the body movements, and just like the freedom of anything happening is just the complete opposite to this is what you do and this is what I do. I'm going to receive it this way.
Yeah. Even in Muay Thai, you can look amazing on the pads, but that doesn't mean you'll be doing the same thing in the fight.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I hope I really hope I do well. And the first fight, and then this fight happened, and then a couple of the fights happened as well. Along the way, I guess, it's similar to, I'm pretty sure every fighter will go through it, like ups and downs and, your first loss or like, a couple of dips in your journey along the way and then some highs. And it's just so fascinating. And then the more it kind of unravels, the more interesting it becomes as well.
Yep.
And you just get to see like how much it has to offer. So like traditional martial arts is great for like discipline, for structure, for, teaching you different kinds of principles about being a martial artist that might not be in the forefront of like fighting martial arts, but it's still there. It's just not, maybe not presented as the most important thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, but like this whole journey has just been crazy. It's like, it just teaches you to be like a little bit more of a free person as well, I guess. And for me, after doing so many years of traditional martial arts, this was like starting all over again. Yeah, and it's just like all over again and something completely new. And I, it just felt like, okay, I've got to take that same mindset of like, I'm starting day one and let's just take it one day at a time and let's see how we go.
And I'm sure that the win would have been just as amazing.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Because, what happened was like, I actually blanked out this whole entire fight. Like the first exchange, I remember I threw a leg kick.
Yep.
And then it touched her. And I was like, oh my God, I just touched her. Like I just kicked her. And then I could hear Chris.
Like landing your first kick?
Sorry?
What was it like landing your first kick?
I felt it. And like the straight in my head was like, I'm okay. She's okay. I'm okay. And then Chris was like, what are you doing? And he's like, kick harder. Like kick harder. Don't touch her. Kick her. And I'm like, okay. And literally, I'm like, this is so funny because everyone laughs when they hear this story. And it's like, I saw this massive like white flash and I thought that I was gonna die. I was like, I'm dying. I don't know what's going on. And I forgot everything after that. And like after round one, I remember Chris like told me after that, we watched it back after they called the round. I just stood in the middle of the ring and he came and grabbed me and he turned me around and put me in the corner. He's like, that was round one. Are you okay? And I'm like, huh? And then like at the end, I remember going back and I was like, oh my God. And he's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah. I was like, did I do okay? Did I win? And he's like, you won. And I'm like, okay.
Wow. I'm sure you won't forget that for a long time.
Sorry?
I'm sure you won't forget that for a long time.
Yeah, I just can't believe it. I think my first days I was like, oh, I won? Like, oh my God, I won. Like, that's crazy.
And it's a very nice show too, Warrior's Way. It's a very intimate show where a lot of people had their first fights on Warrior's Way. And it's very interesting to see who moves up the ranks from these kind of shows. And it's nice to be there as well for someone's first fight.
Yeah, it's crazy. Wow, you've been like so many people's journeys from like fight one to like their retirement fights, and that's insane.
You like, I do have some signs to predict how far they'll go, but you can never tell sometimes.
Yeah, it's super hard. So hard to tell. Like it doesn't show anything anyway. Like even if you have like a winning streak from like 1 to 5 and everyone's like, you're the next big thing, like it really doesn't mean much until yes. I have no idea. Like after, like I'm only at fight 20 now, so I don't know.
Only fight 20.
Yeah.
That's about 20 more fights than most people would ever have.
I'm like, I'm at fight 20, I still feel like I don't know anything.
Once again, back to the change rooms. This was backstage at a pretty big Roots. And like I said, I love being backstage because that's where I get to catch up with many people. In this particular room, you see the Dominance crew on the right-hand side and then the Martial Spirit on the left side. This was another big night where you guys were all fighting. What's it like for yourself as a fighter and also a trainer, being backstage, seeing your guys prepare, but also mentally preparing yourself? What's that balance like for you?
Oh, wow. This is such a cool photo. Kevin's got the like nicest kicks.
He does. Everyone said that. Everywhere I went to, everyone said that kid. I saw him at the Bama. Watch out for him.
Oh, he's like, yeah, like he's not even an actual natural southpaw. He's actually an orthodox fighter, and
Giving
then he
his secret
turns
away.
southpaw. Oops, my bad.
I'll cut it.
Everyone knows. I'm sorry, Kevin. Because he injured his shoulder, the other shoulder, not the one recently, the other one, like into clubs and amateurs, and that's why he changed to southpaw.
Yeah.
I get really nervous when everyone's fighting. I get really, really riled up. Like, I try not to get emotional about it, like too
'Cause you can't
emotional
show
about
it.
it, but yeah, because I just get exhausted sometimes afterwards as well. Like, after a big day, everyone's like fought, and then it's my turn at night because I'm there usually from morning. I'm watching everyone, and then it'll be my turn.
Yeah.
But sometimes when like the fights don't go as planned, or someone gets injured, it's really hard emotionally to like bounce back up and like get yourself ready for your fight. But like, yeah, I have to be there. I have to watch them and like cheer them on. I think the first time it happened where it's like everyone lined up in Roots and then I was at Rebellion, and then they were all chilling after that and it was my turn. Like, I felt a lot of pressure because everyone was like starting to relax and the vibe was kind of like coming
And it's
down,
all
and
on you
then
now.
I was like, yeah, and I was like heightening and getting like really nervous. But I think, who did Quang fight this night? Do you remember?
I should know this.
Is this? Oh wait, I was on Roots as well, right? So I fought
Yes.
Georgia, and he fought that
Yes.
boy from Dominance. I can't remember
I
his
should
name.
know this.
That's okay. But I remember today was really today was a really big day for both of us, me and Quang, because he fought and he fought amazingly.
Yeah.
And he came back, and one of the first things that he said, well, I was like jumping up down. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, like, you're amazing. And then I was up next quite soon, and he was like, hey, listen. He's like, I got it. He's like, I got it. Like, I know what we need to do now, like to go in there with the right mindset and to like perform well. I'm like, what? And he's like, listen. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he's like, you got to go in there and be excited and have fun. Like, be excited. Like, get yourself super excited. I'm like,
yeah.
what's on about Quang? It's like, just trust me. He's like, trust me. And I was like, okay. Then I remember going like, I don't even know like what fight I was. I think I was like standing at the door and I was waving at Ibi the first time I met him, and he was just there. And then before I walked out, like Quang was like, remember, be excited. Okay, be excited. I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I was like, what can I lose anyway? I'll be excited. And then I went in there in the ring and, sealed the ring, and then like started to fight, and I was like feeling excited. And then that fight went really well, and it was like kind of changed my mindset, I guess, about fighting after that, because I'm usually a really nervous person, like when it comes to fighting.
Well, when I talk to you, you're very bubbly, and then you're only serious and very stoic when I see you fighting. I did see you be a bit more loose in that particular fight too.
Thanks for noticing. Yeah, I felt much happier actually. I was like, oh, I feel happy, and I could see like all of a sudden I was like, everything felt like under control, because usually it just feels like, oh my god, like everything's just happening and it's out of my control, and I'm just like reacting to the whole thing all the time. And this time I went in there and I felt like, oh, okay, like I can move around, like the space, like I can see and like have some fun. So yeah, that was good. Like that was a really good night.
Great to hear. Now, like I said earlier, we all saw your first fight and saw you grew as a fighter in your fighting career. When we saw you get knocked down by Brooke, it felt like it hit a lot of us as well, because seeing our Spring knocked down for the first time, we're thinking, oh crap, is she okay? Is she getting up? How will she come back from this? What was your thoughts from this moment?
I was like, when I got the 8 count, I think when I actually stood up and I looked at the ref, I don't even know what number he was counting. I think it was like 8. And I'm like, it's already 8? Like, what do you mean? I got to go again now? And then, like, I was freaking out, to be honest, because, like, you kind of like have the ideas and you talk to your coach about what happens, you get an 8 count, like you're just playing these scenarios out in the gym, talking about it. But when it actually happens, it's, yeah, like I stood up and I was like, this happened really early in the round as well. I think it was like one of the first exchanges that like I was down. And I remember standing out and really clearly I could hear a lot of screaming, like from the corners screaming, but really clearly I could hear Eddie scream at Brooke. And he was like, she's done, she's finished, like finish her, like knock her out, finish her now. And I remember just thinking, I'm like, oh my God, like, I wonder how bad I look right now. Like, am I like looking like I'm really bad in that state where it's like the next exchange I'm going to be out, or
Yeah.
is he just saying that to like get her like fired up a little bit more? And I was just thinking, like, I was like, okay, it's early in the round, like I'm aware of it, but I've got to survive until the end of this round at least. So yeah, I think I'll just focus after that. I was like, just do your best to not get another 8 count. Or if you get another 8 count, like get an 8 count, but don't get knocked out. And then go back to the corner and then like try and regroup, rest, and then go again. But I was like really devastated because I just knew, like, in a 3-round fight, when you get an 8 count, it's the best decision now. It's a draw at best, or like you're pretty much lost now if you don't give, you don't give her back an 8 count. So I was thinking about like the different scenarios came much, much later. But initially when it first happened, I was like, what just happened? Like, what? I just got an 8 count. I'm like, that's insane. I just hear all this screaming. And like really soon after, I saw Sai screaming at me, and then like my corner screaming at me, and like I saw my boxing coach who was standing in the crowd. And I remember thinking, finally, and I was like, I have like the most random thoughts when I'm fighting. It's like completely irrelevant to fighting. And I knew that I got an 8 count from a punch. And I was looking at him, I was like so upset because I was like, he's gonna be so upset with me that I just got punched and I got an 8 count because he's my boxing coach. I didn't have my hands up, obviously.
It shocked all of us just seeing Spring knocked down for the first time, and it's always interesting seeing someone knocked down for the first time, seeing how they react to it and how they get back onto their feet and survive the round.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that was crazy. And I like, that was a good fight. Like, to be honest, I really enjoyed that fight because I thought that I did better like in the latter part of the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was a crazy experience. Like I'll do it again without the 8 count. But yeah, that was fun. Because I remember thinking, like, when you go into a fight and like, I think this was much early on in my fight career as well. Like it's so hard for me personally. I'm not sure whether everyone or like yourself could relate. Like for me personally, like my head is just really hard for me to control. Like for me to say it's okay, or like, to calm myself down. It just goes into like these spirals, like negative.
It's easier said than done.
Oh my God, it just won't listen to me. I'm like, just be quiet. And it's like, it won't be quiet. And at this point I was really struggling because I think I had a couple of bad fights just before this one as well. And it was just like really, like every fight just seemed to kind of reinforce that negative mindset.
Yeah.
And I was standing in the corner and they were announcing her fight record. And I just remember them saying like, she's won this many fights by way of knockout. And I was looked over to my corner. I'm like, she did what?
But it's very props to you for taking an international fighter like Brooke, because you were at a stage where you girls were fighting the same girls over and over again in the same circuit. It's time for you to step up as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was super excited when Sai was like, unify this person. I was like, really? I was like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah, but like, I think like after this fight, was it this fight that I had a break after this? I can't even remember.
Could be.
But anyway, one of these fights, like it was like, I think it was Som, Jada, Brooke, or like somewhere in that order, somewhere along the way, like my mental game just like crumbled completely. And this wasn't helpful at all at that stage. But yeah, like it was such a good night after that. And like you just go through so much and you learn so quickly as well. And
it's all part of the experience too.
It is. Yeah, it really is. Like, like I was fine. Like I wasn't like I didn't lose like half my head or something. But I think just that whole experience as well, I think people were shocked. Like you were saying, people were shocked. I could hear like friends screaming, like, and this is like the tone of their voice of screaming. It wasn't like a normal like go Spring. It was like,
I'm surprised you've heard all of that.
Like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh God. Like it must look bad. People are losing their mind.
Well, hey, the main thing is you still bounce back and you still finish the fight strong.
Yeah, I had a good time after that. I was like, yep, I'm just going to keep jabbing her because I see that her eyes a little red. And I was like, I'll keep jabbing her.
Nathan Corbett seminar. Now we're both martial artists, and I think part of being a martial artist is always learning something new from someone a lot better than you or someone with more experience. Not only were you doing a seminar, but you were also paired up with an opponent you fought.
Yes.
Actually, I think you could have also fought Kelly before this too, right?
I think just like one between. There was like something between there. But yeah.
Yeah.
She was my first fight on NakSoo, the first NakSoo show. But yeah, like that fight again, I was like freaked out because Kelly, looking at Kelly, I think everyone should be freaked out.
She's a machine.
She looks like she's built to like take you out.
Yeah. But it's so cool to see you guys training together.
Yeah, like we're still sparring partners till this day. So every time we have a fight coming up, we're always sparring. And like I've cornered her, I think a couple of times as well. And she's always been there, like standing really close, like in my corner when I'm fighting as well. But yeah, super lucky. Like we get along really well and we're such good training partners. And I think in this seminar, we're so lucky to have each other because, in a seminar, like you really absorb better when you have someone that you gel with to train with, like, and execute the techniques out with as well.
I'm sure we've both been to enough seminars to know that when you go to a seminar, it's really important you have a decent partner to be able to perform the techniques with. You don't want to be teaching them complete syllabus because you both want to be learning from each other.
Yeah, totally. And it's hard sometimes when you go there, you don't know anyone, or like you didn't pre-plan this properly to go with someone as well. And
planning is so important.
Yeah, so I think like this one actually in particular, she asked me, she's like, hey, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, cool, I'll go if you're going. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to go. And I really like planned before that. She's like, make sure that we're partners, and we do all the partner drills and stuff.
So yeah, it's not just me doing that. Everyone does it too.
Yeah, I think everyone does it because like unless they separate you. I think we're in the Lam Nan Moon's seminar, and then he had separated the fighters and the non-fighters at that time. And a couple of them like from the team were not fighters at the time, so we all got a little bit separated as well. But yeah, this is a super fun seminar.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I love the Nathan Corbett seminars. You always learn so much, and he's so technical with his techniques and teaching style as well. I tell everybody it's one of my most favorite seminars to go to.
And he's really intense.
Very intense.
I got that really intense. Like, do you remember how he was scaring everyone in this seminar? I don't know if he does that in every seminar.
Every seminar.
But like when he was standing, because he was like, when he got people up to like partner him, like these poor guys, like grown men, were like crumbling in front of him, and I was like, oh my god, like, is this the intensity like standing next to Nathan, like opposite Nathan Corbett? Because I watched a lot of his fights, and like I guess it's just like through the screen he looks intense, but like in person he's even more intense, and he's not even in fight mode. So
yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Hate to imagine what he's like in actual fight mode.
Oh my god, I know. Like him and Tyrone, I love watching that fight over and over again. They're just like crazy intensity and just like something to aspire to be, I guess.
Definitely. The famous missing ear.
Oh,
Spring as a cornerman. What was it like?
Oh my god! Oh, this fight. Oh,
and how was he? Yeah.
He's fine. He had to go for I think technically it's called plastic surgery. So the poor guy's had plastic surgery to like get his ear back.
Wow, plastic surgery for the ear.
Yeah, because like he lost a chunk of that bit there. Oh god, that fight. Oh god, so like frustrated standing in the corner. I was just losing my mind. And now that I look at that photo, it makes me really upset all over again.
What were you thinking? Were you just disappointed that this fight was stopped too soon, or just confused at the ear?
I was really upset for him because I just knew that like he's such a good fighter, and I was like, like we train together all the time, and like I just want to see him do well, and like for it to go in such a way that was like no one could have expected this or like trained for this. It was just like. It was frustrating, and then we were watching it happen.
There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do about it. And like, there's a lot of blood, which is fine. Like, this normal for Kwang. Like, he always gets cuts, or he cuts people, and like, blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But I remember that particular fight, like something in me, and I was like, I didn't even know this was in me as a person, because I don't know what happened. Like, that was blood, and then I just got so riled up. I was screaming at him, and then we were talking to that guy before, like he was lovely, his opponent, and Keith, we're all friends with Keith. In the back room, we were all like pretty jovial and like friendly, and then something happened, and like something snapped in me when I saw Kwang like get hurt, and I started screaming. I was like, knock him out, just like knock him out. And I was like, all this rage, and I was like, all the words are coming out of my mouth. And I was like, what am I saying? You know? But like at that point, I was kind of like, I just lost it. I was just like, got so upset. And Craig didn't know his ear got cut when they stopped the fight, because he had another cut here.
Yeah, right.
Like on the forehead. And he thought that they stopped the fight because of the forehead cut. And then he came out, and then we all looked at him. We're like, oh. And he's like, what? Like, oh.
I'll go watch that fight again.
Yeah, and we're looking at him. We're like, yeah, Quang, does it hurt? And he's like, what do you mean? We're like, yeah. He's like, what do you mean? And then walking down, was it a red scooter? Yeah, it was a red scooter.
Yeah, red scooter.
Walking down the stairs, and you know how like there's a mirror, like at the stairs in the back room.
Oh, it's a big mirror.
The big mirror. And he looks up and he notices that half his ear is missing. And that's when he freaks out and he's like, what? And then he starts swearing. And then we're all like, yeah.
Wow. No wonder why he was so calm during the fight, because he didn't know it was happening to him.
No idea. He had no idea. He just thought like, oh, bad luck, you know? And he didn't know why everyone was so riled up. And then we're like, yeah, looks like someone bit your ear. I
love it. Backstage at NakSoo at the famous Melbourne Meat Market. This was such a cool event, cool venue too. I live very close to the meat market. I never knew that it could be transformed into a fighting venue. It was a very cold night. I think it was in August too, so one of the coldest months in Melbourne. And just the vibe at this particular show, having an all-girl series, it was just something I haven't experienced before. What was it like for you being at that event?
I love this photo. Like, I think at that point, it really like encapsulated a lot of things that are going in my mind. I love how it was kind of like dark as well. And for me at this stage, I had a really disappointing fight against Beck before this. And I think my next fight straight after that was Nakia, which is this one.
Yes.
And I remember watching Nakia fight Beck, like before my fight. And then she like cut up Beck, and it was a bad fight for Beck. And I think just mentally knowing that, okay, so I was like, I just lost to Beck. It was a bad fight.
You're doing MuayThai mats.
Yeah, I was like, so technically I'm fighting Nakia, and she just cut up Beck. I was like,
I'm gonna get cut
what
as
does
well.
that mean? Yeah, I was like, so for me, that can't be good. So I was like, oh, yeah. So anyway, I was really like feeling a little bit kind of more like wanting some redemption, I guess, for myself, and not feeling that, I guess, that happy and lighthearted about everything that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember sitting in the back room, and I had like this kind of more of like a somber kind of mood, and I remember looking at this photo after the fight, and I was like, wow, this really encapsulated like how I felt like in the back room, because you know, usually I'm either like super nervous or like I'm pretty happy all around.
It's one or the other.
But yeah, like one or the other. But this one I felt like angry, not anything particular, but just like generally angry and like upset. And I just really wanted to like go in there and do like have a good fight and be a little bit more aggressive as well. But yeah, like that was
it was a good fight too.
Crazy. Oh yeah, actually yes. I
can't
really remember what happened actually, but then I remember going there and I was like, hey, this is going well. Like, cool.
And just going back to this event, it was an all-female event, apart from the main event. But doing Muay Thai and combat sport for so long, it's amazing to see how far it's come along. When I started doing martial arts, you couldn't get a card full of pros that were all females. And also when I started too, I had Chris Nguyen on a podcast not long ago. We were talking about how back when we were doing martial arts and competing, there weren't that many Asian fighters. It was a very, very small pool, and now it's a lot more accepted. A lot more people are doing it. Back then, people gave you weird looks thinking, why are you fighting now? It's very common. Everyone's there to support friends. It's a high, if you ask someone, oh, have you been to the fight show before? There's a high chance they'll say, yeah, I've been there before. I've bought a table. I've saw Spring Fight.
It's so true. I actually just spoke to one of my old friends, and we started, we trained doing Aikido together back in Malaysia. And she was like one of the kids I was taking care of when I first started training to become an instructor, and I was like 15. And then in Malaysia, like we were talking about just before, like currently I feel like they're going through that stage where female fighting isn't a thing. Not very much of it anyway.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to tell her like, oh, there's all female shows here in Melbourne. And just that disparity, like Melbourne has come so far in promoting female like martial arts and giving people that platform. And same as Sai, like I remember the first Roots show he ever had, more than half the card were like girls.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and like, you know, for at that point I remember thinking like, this is insane. I looked at a lot of the girls' names as well, and like they were all like, you know, close to my weight.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so exciting that we have so many people like around this weight category, and we can all kind of fight each other and all get better, you know. And but yeah, like I think like she was telling me like some of the promoters were telling them like, oh, you know, girls are just kind of like you know, the in between fights, you know, just to please the crowd a little bit. Like they're nice to look at, but you know, once they start bleeding, they'll put a stop to it. They don't want to see any like violence, not too much anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think NakSoo, I remember Crew Dennis and Lily came up to me. Was it in the Rebellion? Can't remember. Anyway, I think I just like finished fighting somewhere. Like they came up and I just finished fighting, and they had this idea, and they were just kind of putting it together at the time. They're like, we have an idea, and we want you to be a part of it if you want to. And it's an all-female fight show. And I remember thinking at that time when I first heard it, I'm like, a what? Like, oh, cool. Like, yeah. I was just thinking, I'm like, they're really bold to, you know, put together this concept and to make it happen. And they did such a great job. Like, this show was amazing.
And they did 3 shows too. It wasn't an easy feat.
Oh, it was so good. It was like so professional. And it was really hard too, because this one was like, you know, a Yokkao show too. And they had to do all the Yokkao things and like stay in line with all that, with the sponsorship and the branding. So it was a hard time for them, but they pulled it off, and it was just amazing. There's so many girl fights, and I just remember being in like so much awe of all the other girls. I think I saw Sally fight for the first time there.
Yep.
And she fought, I can't remember her name now, Katie Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally did amazing, and like, you know, just like we have all the girls in the background as well. Everyone just starts talking.
It was a different vibe.
All the red corner girls are like, go red corner, and like all the blue corner girls are like, you know, all together. Everyone knows who they are. It's like, it doesn't even matter. You're just gonna support your corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just chatting to them, and Sally was like, I'm only having my like, I don't know what number fight she's having, like very few relative to her opponent. And then when we all heard the numbers, like, you're fighting someone with how many fights? Like, oh my god. Like, it's okay, you're gonna be fine, you know? Yeah, just like seeing all like, and I think Jenny had her first fight here.
Yes, a lot of people had the first fights.
Oh, it was crazy. It was just such a good night. Like, just the vibe was different too. I think not too much like testosterone in the back room. Just like goals.
Yep. And that brings us to a last photo. What do you think it'll be?
Is it me crying? I don't know.
I don't know if I have that.
Oh.
The martial artist inside Spring. I think it's very important for a fighter to still recognize the martial arts side of Thai boxing, and also just fighting in general, because that's what keeps you going after your career's ended or when you haven't got any fights lined up. I've seen too many people take a long break or just not even have the motivation to go into the gym if they're not training for a fight. I still feel like you should still continue learning and have that be part of your lifestyle as well. How important do you think it is how important do you think it is to have the martial arts aspect in fighters, since you've been on both sides?
I think it's a shame if fighters don't experience that, to be honest. Because I feel like that's such a huge part of the journey as well. Like, sure, it's cool to do the physical aspect, and it's cool to do like, you know, to watch yourself grow in that manner. But it's so not surface level as in like shallow, but it's more kind of like there's so much like a deeper journey besides the physical as well. And if you do it long enough, I feel if you do it long enough and you push yourself and you just have either really good guidance or you just have that natural tendency to have that mindset, like some people do without traditional martial arts background, but they just carry themselves in a certain way, and they manage to touch that aspect of martial arts, which I think is so special. And it's so hard to communicate it. It's really, really hard to communicate that message or that feeling. I feel like when I started training in Malaysia, it was okay to like get yelled at all the time. So like all the kids, like myself and like the kids that I was training with, like we were getting yelled at all the time. And you know, all these like the messages were kind of being transmitted through the yelling, and it's stuck with you, you know, as when you grow up. So like I'm so grateful that I have that kind of backbone to fall back on, or you know, to remind myself as well, like how I should be. It's just like a guideline, I guess, to carry myself through the practice.
Completely
and I
agree.
feel like, yeah, and you know, sometimes you need someone to like yell at you, which I had someone yelling at me, but like I don't personally yell at the kids because I
can't see you yelling at someone.
I can't even, and it's so hard when I try and think about it. Like I have this conversation a lot because I feel like as an instructor, I really struggle to communicate this aspect, and I don't know how to communicate it because I feel like words don't justify it. And also it's like someone forced me to do it when I was really young, you know, and I might not necessarily agree with like forcing someone to do it by subjecting them to like rules and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like you can't expect someone to just get it as well. Like someone needs to, you know, to guide them. Like I'm not sure whether your sensei at the start was like very strict, or you know, or was this like the dojo etiquette, or
when I was a kid, I was actually petrified of martial arts. I was a lot of people when you hear stories of kids when they're 6 or 7, they're walking to a gym and they'll say to the parents, "Oh, this is the best place ever. I want to go train." I remember the first time when my dad took me to a karate dojo when I was 6 or 7. You know, going up the stairs to a dojo, I see people kicking and screaming in their gis, and I just felt petrified. I wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there. It wasn't until I went back myself when I was 17. You know, I had my own reasonings, but like you said, you can't force your child to do it. They have to want to do it too. And I think the best thing you can do as a trainer or a parent is just guide them, but not force them.
Yeah, it's so hard because personally I was forced to do martial arts. And like I hated it. And I only did it once a week, and it wasn't even like, you know, relatively now, like once a week is nothing. It's definitely not enough. It was like 1 hour once a week, and I made such a big deal out of it. Like I would cry and I would like do all this stuff, and my parents were really strict, so I didn't get far with that at all. And also it was really fun because when I came back, it was always Tuesday night. I had to go for training. I come back and there was wrestling on TV. Oh. So they were like, you can watch wrestling and stay up and watch WWE, WWF if you go for training. So yeah. But yeah, like it's just such a, like martial arts is so hard to teach. And I feel like sometimes, like some days, I feel like it's impossible to teach martial arts. Like, you know, yeah, I can teach you how to do like physical movements, but to me that's not martial arts. Like, you know, just because you know how to kick, or even if you had a couple of fights, like
there's nothing behind that.
No, yeah, exactly. There's something else that you either come to by yourself, or someone like hammers it in when you know, puts it right out there, yells at you, tells you what it is, you know, all that like humility, being grateful, like just that respect, and you know, that's like exterior towards someone else, being sensitive to someone else, and then all that internal stuff as well, and all the challenges that you face. But yeah, it's such a beautiful thing, actually.
That's well said. I couldn't have put that into better words myself. Thank you, Spring. Thank you for coming on, Spring.
Thank you so much.